narrator. Welcome back to the English Learning Podcast's Intermediate Guide series. Today we're sharpening our narrative skills and diving into the art of describing past events with greater detail. It's one thing to recount what happened, but an entirely different and more engaging experience to bring a story to life by describing how it happened, what it felt like, and who was involved in vivid terms. Whether you're sharing a personal anecdote, recounting a historical moment, or explaining a project's timeline, the ability to add rich, specific details transforms a simple narrative into a compelling and memorable account. How do you move beyond basic chronological facts to paint a picture with words, evoking senses, emotions, and subtle intricacies? What linguistic techniques allow you to highlight key moments, build suspense, or emphasize the significance of an event? And crucially, how do you select the most impactful details to include, ensuring your descriptions are both thorough and concise, engaging your audience without overwhelming them? This episode is designed to equip you with the essential vocabulary, descriptive techniques, and practical insights necessary to approach storytelling with precision, creativity, and profound impact. Today's discussion moves beyond simple past tense usage, exploring the power of sensory language, rhetorical devices, and narrative structure. We are privileged to host a conversation between Dr. Evelyn Reed, a distinguished professor of literature and narrative theory at the University of Cambridge, and Mr. Samuel Sam Davies, an acclaimed investigative journalist for the Chronicle Herald, renowned for his immersive storytelling and recently covering a major event at the historic Grand Central Station in New York City. Their dialogue will illuminate the best practices and common pitfalls in crafting compelling descriptions of past events, offering you a richer understanding of how to make every story a captivating journey for your listeners or readers. So, let's explore the intricacies and captivating power of truly mastering the detailed description of past events. Evelyn, Sam, it's a genuine pleasure to finally connect with you. Your journalistic work consistently demonstrates an extraordinary ability to bring past events to vivid life for your readers. From your perspective, when you're preparing to describe a past event, what are your initial, most crucial considerations for moving beyond basic facts? Do you immediately think about the chronological order, or is there a sensory or emotional entry point you establish first? Sam, Eleanor, the pleasure is entirely mutual. Your academic insights into narrative are incredibly practical for what I do. When preparing to describe a past event, my initial consideration is always to find the sensory or emotional entry point that immediately draws the audience in. While chronological order provides the backbone, simply listing facts can be dry. I look for the most striking image, the most compelling sound, or the strongest feeling associated with the event. The chill in the air, the roar of the crowd, the palpable tension. This allows me to establish an immediate atmosphere and emotional resonance before I even delve into the sequence of actions. My foundational groundwork always involves asking, what was the most impactful moment and how can I place the reader right there? Do you find that a lack of this immersive beginning is a common pitfall in recounting past events? Evelyn, absolutely, Sam. Your emphasis on finding that sensory or emotional entry point is unequivocally fundamental. A lack of such an immersive beginning is indeed one of the most common and detrimental pitfalls, often leaving narratives feeling flat, distant, and unengaging. Without that initial hook, the audience remains detached from the story. My research shows that vivid sensory details, sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, are powerful tools for activating the reader's imagination and creating a sense of being there. What specific linguistic or rhetorical strategies do you employ to infuse your descriptions with rich, specific details, avoiding generic or vague terms? Sam, that's where the deliberate choice of precise vocabulary and evocative imagery becomes paramount, Eleanor. My primary strategy for infusing descriptions with rich, specific details involves replacing generic verbs and adjectives with stronger, more descriptive alternatives. Instead of "he walked quickly," I might write, "he strode purposefully," or "he scurried nervously." Instead of "the room was messy," I describe specific elements. Dust motes danced in the slivers of sunlight piercing the grime-coated windows, illuminating piles of forgotten papers and a teetering stack of yellowed books on the floor. I also frequently use figurative language like similes and metaphors to create vivid mental pictures. The silence was as heavy as lead, or her voice was a brittle whisper. I focus on details that are diagnostic, those that reveal character, mood, or significant aspects of the scene. For example, at Grand Central Station, I wouldn't just say many people, but a throng of commuters, each a blur of motion, their hurried footsteps echoing off the grand vaulted ceilings. Do you find that a fear of being overly descriptive sometimes leads individuals to err on the side of sparseness, thereby diminishing their narrative's impact? Evelyn. That's an excellent point, Sam, and your use of strong verbs, specific sensory details, and figurative language is precisely what elevates prose. And yes, a fear of being overly descriptive, or perhaps a misconception that brevity always equates to clarity, often leads individuals to err on the side of sparseness, thereby diminishing their narrative's impact. There's a fine line, of course, between vivid detail and gratuitous embellishment, but the goal is to transport the audience, not just inform them. My research suggests that carefully chosen details, even if seemingly small, can carry immense weight in conveying emotion and meaning. What role does pacing and sequencing play in describing past events, particularly in building tension, highlighting key moments, or emphasizing cause and effect? Sam. Pacing and sequencing are the architectural blueprints of effective narrative, Eleanor. Without them, even the most vivid details can feel disjointed. When describing past events, I meticulously control the pacing by varying sentence length and structure. For moments of high tension or rapid action, I use shorter, punchier sentences and quicker transitions. The alarm blared. Footsteps pounded. The door burst open. For reflective moments or setting a scene, I employ longer sentences with more descriptive clauses, slowing the reader down. As for sequencing, it's not always strictly chronological. I might use flashbacks to provide context for a current event, or foreshadowing to hint at what's to come, building suspense. Crucially, I emphasize cause and effect by explicitly linking events, using transition words and phrases like, consequently, as a result, due to which, or this led to. For example, when describing the situation at Grand Central Station, I didn't just say, the train was delayed and people were angry. I explained why it was delayed, how the information was delivered, and then described the mounting frustration and its specific manifestations. How do you approach the challenge of selecting the most impactful details to include, ensuring your descriptions are both thorough and concise? Engaging your audience without overwhelming them? Evelyn. Sam, your articulation of pacing and sequencing as architectural blueprints, and your nuanced use of nonlinear techniques, is profoundly insightful. The challenge of selecting the most impactful details is indeed central to compelling storytelling. My approach involves a concept I call significant detail, choosing elements that are representative, revelatory, or resonant. A detail is representative if it stands in for a larger truth, e.g., one broken window representing widespread damage. It is revelatory if it uncovers character or underlying truth, e.g., a nervous habit that betrays hidden anxiety. It is resonant if it evokes a strong emotional response or connection with the audience. I also apply the principle of less is more in a strategic way. Instead of listing everything, I pick 2 or 3 strong, well-chosen details per scene or idea that do the most work. This avoids overwhelming the audience with extraneous information. I also consider the purpose of the description. Is it to set a mood, explain an action, or reveal character? This helps filter details. What are the common pitfalls individuals fall into when trying to describe past events in greater detail, and how can they be avoided? Sam. Eleanor, your concept of significant detail, representative, revelatory, resonant, is an excellent framework for selection. The common pitfalls individuals fall into when trying to describe past events in greater detail often include information overload, where too many unnecessary or tangential details overwhelm the audience and obscure the main point. Another pitfall is a lack of sensory engagement, relying solely on visual descriptions and neglecting sounds, smells, textures, or tastes, which diminishes immersion. Using vague or generic language is also common, employing weak verbs, abstract nouns, and clichés instead of precise, vivid vocabulary. A disjointed narrative, jumping between ideas or events without clear transitions or logical flow, can also hinder understanding. Inconsistent tone, shifting abruptly from formal to informal, or serious to flippant, without narrative purpose can confuse the audience. Individuals might also fall into the trap of focusing on the trivial, getting bogged down in minor, unimportant details while overlooking the truly impactful ones. Finally, not considering the audience by providing too much or too little background information based on who they're talking to can make the description less effective. To avoid these, storytellers should edit ruthlessly, cutting any detail that doesn't serve the narrative purpose like mood, character, or plot. They should consciously think about how each sense contributes to the scene to engage all senses. While using a thesaurus selectively to find stronger, more specific words is good, they should avoid overly obscure ones. Planning the narrative structure and outlining the key events and how they connect before writing is crucial. Maintaining a consistent voice and tone is important, unless a deliberate shift is intended. For every detail they should ask, "So what?" to consider its relevance and impact on the story. Lastly, gauging audience knowledge helps provide context without over-explaining. How do you believe the increasing reliance on visual media, photos, videos, impacts people's ability or inclination to describe past events using only words, and what unique power does verbal description still hold? Evelyn. Sam, your list of pitfalls and avoidance strategies is comprehensive and highly practical for anyone looking to refine their storytelling. The increasing reliance on visual media certainly has a complex and somewhat paradoxical impact on people's ability or inclination to describe past events using only words. On one hand, it can diminish the perceived necessity of verbal description. Why describe a vibrant sunset when you can simply show a photo? It might even reduce the practice of linguistic articulation, as people become accustomed to delegating the showing to images. However, this also highlights the unique and irreplaceable power that verbal description still holds. Visuals show, but words interpret, explain, and evoke. Words can convey internal states like emotions, thoughts, motivations, and complex psychological nuances that a photo cannot capture. They can also articulate abstract concepts such as ideas, theories, historical context, or future implications. Verbal descriptions can bring to life sensory experiences beyond sight, like the lingering scent of rain, the specific crunch of gravel underfoot, or the taste of fear, details that engage other senses. Words build a narrative arc, connecting events in a meaningful sequence and explaining why something happened, not just that it happened, thus conveying the passage of time and causality. Finally, words can hint, suggest, and allow for a reader's interpretation in a way that a definitive image often cannot, providing ambiguity and multiple perspectives. So, while visuals are immediate, verbal description remains paramount for depth, understanding, and truly immersing an audience in the full human experience of a past event. In your final analysis, what are the ultimate rewards or transformations that an individual gains from truly mastering the art of describing past events with greater detail? Sam. Eleanor, your distinction between visuals showing and words interpreting, explaining, and evoking is incredibly insightful. It perfectly encapsulates the enduring power of verbal narrative. The ultimate rewards or transformations that an individual gains from truly mastering the art of describing past events with greater detail are manifold and deeply enriching. For individuals, it cultivates sharper observational skills, as they learn to pay closer attention to the world around them, noticing the sensory input that makes experiences rich. It significantly enhances their communicative prowess, allowing them to articulate complex thoughts and feelings with precision and impact in all areas of life, not just storytelling. This mastery fosters deeper empathy, as the act of vividly describing another's experience or a historical moment requires stepping into their shoes and understanding the nuances of their reality. It also strengthens memory and recall, as the process of detailing an event solidifies it in one's own mind. Perhaps most profoundly, it allows for more meaningful connection with others. When you can articulate your experiences in a compelling way, you don't just share facts. You share moments, emotions, and insights, forging stronger bonds and enriching shared understanding. It's a transformative skill that allows one to be not just a witness to life, but a compelling narrator of its vast and intricate tapestry. Narrator. What an exceptionally illuminating and profound conversation with Dr. Evelyn Reed and Mr. Samuel Davies. Their expert insights have masterfully illuminated the critical nuances involved in transforming simple accounts into rich, detailed narratives of past events. We've explored everything from finding sensory entry points and employing precise language to mastering pacing and selecting impactful details. Their discussion powerfully underscores that describing the past with greater detail is not merely an act of recall, but a creative and empathetic endeavor that deepens understanding, builds connection, and breathes life into history, whether personal or collective. Now, let's consolidate some of the key vocabulary and concepts from their rich dialogue that you can integrate into your own storytelling and communication. Practice session. Expressing yourself. Let's revisit some valuable phrases and concepts from today's in-depth episode. Practice using these in your own descriptions of past events. Sensory or emotional entry point. The most striking sense or feeling to begin a description. Unequivocally fundamental. Absolutely essential or crucial. Precise vocabulary and evocative imagery. Using exact words and language that creates strong mental pictures. Figurative language. Language that uses figures of speech like similes and metaphors for effect. Diagnostic. Details that reveal important information about character, mood, or meaning. Architectural blueprints. The underlying structure or plan of a narrative. Significant detail. A detail that is representative, revelatory, or resonant. Information overload. Providing too much unnecessary information. Complex and somewhat paradoxical impact. An effect that is complicated and seems to contradict itself. Manifold and deeply enriching. Many and having a very positive and profound effect. Choose 3 of these phrases and use them to describe a past event you experienced. For example, the first thing I remember about the protest at Parliament Square was the sensory or emotional entry point, the deafening chant of the crowd that was unequivocally fundamental to the atmosphere of unified defiance. In my essay aimed to use precise vocabulary and evocative imagery to capture the tension of the historic vote, like describing the waiting room as a pressure cooker of hushed anxieties. I tried to pick diagnostic details that revealed the underlying political currents. Looking back at how our startup launched, it's clear the team's meticulous planning of the product rollout served as architectural blueprints, preventing information overload for our early adopters. The success of that initial phase had a manifold and deeply enriching impact on everyone involved. Narrator. As Dr. Evelyn Reed and Mr. Samuel Davies so eloquently articulated, mastering the art of describing past events with greater detail is a skill that empowers you to be a more compelling communicator and a more perceptive observer of life. It's about moving beyond simply recalling facts to truly reliving and sharing experiences in a way that resonates with others. By embracing specific details, understanding narrative structure, and leveraging the power of language, you can transform your stories into unforgettable journeys for anyone who listens or reads. Until our next insightful discussion on the English Learning Podcast, keep observing, keep narrating, and keep bringing your stories to life.